my cue to start the show. Welcome to another edition of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, live from high atop Hard Rock and Sports Studios in beautiful St. Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 2-hour weekly get-together where we bring you all the biggest news around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, of course, the wide world of sports. And guys, welcome to Thursday night, March the 12th in the year of our good Lord 2026. And I hope you guys are enjoying the really nice weather until today. Yep, for some reason, the good Lord has decided to let it snow and be very cold out today. I went out in shorts today, had some personal things to do, and I couldn't believe it was snowing. And it is snowing still here. Not much. I mean, we got the very dusting, but just the simple fact that we got snow is amazing to me. But that's March, and you'll get this crazy weather now, March and into April, where you can get some. I think I've said this story on the show a few times. I went to Yankee opening day in April of 2016. Yankees Houston Astros, and it was the absolute coldest day I think I've ever experienced in my life, and that was like April the 6th. So we're not out of the woods as far as cold weather or snow. We've had a 1996, middle of March, end of March, we had a huge snowstorm, 30 inches. I believe it's still one of the top 2 or 3. So anyway, don't be surprised day by day. So it's going to warm up again. It'll get a little colder again next week. It'll get a little warmer again, and we'll have to deal with it for the next probably month and a half. And I can go back to in the 90s. I remember a few Junes that it was still rainy and chilly and cold. So we're not out of the woods, but listen, we had a couple of really nice days, and it was nice to be outside in T-shirts and not be ducking into cars and buildings and gloves and hats. So we'll take what we can get. So anyway, I hope you guys have had a good week, and I look forward to doing the show for a little while tonight. Won't be a long one. We're going to cut it off quick. Waiting for Jeff. He's out celebrating the birthday of his wife. So happy birthday to Sharon. Very, very wonderful person. And I hope she has a great birthday. And Jeff's must be taking her out to dinner. And then he'll pop up and we'll do a little show together. And we got lots to talk about. We have all the topics from last week's show, which I'll bring up to Jeff. We'll run through. And then, of course, we have NFL free agency this week. We have a few other things on the list. Let's see. What else do I have on my list of things here? We can talk about the World Baseball Classic. Hasn't been a lot of great baseball that I've seen. A lot of blowout games. I haven't watched, and I'll be honest, I don't really watch a lot. I did take it. So one thing before Jeff gets on, and I know he's not a big baseball fan, so I'll do a little World Baseball Classic for you. So a big win for Team Italy last night, beating Mexico. I think it was 8 or 9-1, and it was huge for the United States. And here's why. So the U.S. team is 3-0. They're getting ready to play Italy, and for some reason, their team, the coaching staff, I'm assuming the general manager, the whole brass, everybody assumed that the game against Italy was a meaningless game. I won't go through all the moves, playing Paul Goldschmidt against right-handers and pitching this one and whatever. I won't go into that. It doesn't really matter. But they decided, or they thought, that the game did not matter. So what happens? They go out, and they tanked it, but they didn't care. They were out partying pretty hard after beating Mexico. They had a pretty nice win over Mexico, and they went out and celebrated. All right, no problem. They're grown men. Nothing to really play for. Who cares? Well, it turns out that game did mean something. And because of the loss, now the United States needed help. So now they needed Team Italy to beat Team Mexico, or for Team Mexico to win, but win by 5 runs. So here's the big problem for all of that. How if you're taking it as seriously as everybody says they are taking it, and no doubt that they are, if your Team USA's manager, his coaching staff, league officials, how do you not sit down and say, okay, guys, great win. You win tomorrow, and you automatically move on to the medal round. If you lose, you have to hope for this. I mean, how do you not know that? And you go into the game that's actually important, and you don't know it. That is absolutely inexcusable. And what it tells me, and there's another reason, I'll get into it, that this, as much as people are talking about how this is huge and oh my God, they represent my team, my country. None of them care. This is just, I have no idea. I'm not sure what this is to everybody. At glorified exhibition games. And please don't tell me that this is as big as the hockey players doing what they did in the Olympics. This is virtually meaningless. And I'll tell you why. You got pitchers who go on out there and I'm only going to pitch once. I'm only going to pitch 4 innings. I'm only going to throw 50 pitches. Oh, I can't play my shortstop 2 games in a row. You know what? The hockey players went out there in the middle of their season, heading toward the playoffs for a lot of them, and they left it on. They left it all on. No matter what team it was, I'll use Team USA, but all of them did. Team Canada. I watched a lot of the hockey games. They went in the middle of their season, not the start of their season, not the pre-start to start the season. The hockey players went out there and played their asses off. Played those games with reckless abandon and determination. They played every shift of every game. Nobody took a night off unless, they were dressing a different player. And I'm supposed to believe that the baseball players, this means the world to them because they can't play a few days in a row because what? They come in early. If you needed more time to get ready, come in earlier. I don't want to hear how serious they took. They didn't know that you needed to win a 4th game to make it, that you would have to rely on others. And yeah, man, I'm with you. Team Italy, go for it, baby. I like the underdog. I root for the sweater. I want the USA to win, but it's embarrassing. You have a manager who wants to manage in the majors, who wants to be taken seriously, and this is how you manage. You don't know. You don't know what the outcome of your games mean. The first thing he should have said was, okay, with 3-0, what does that mean if we lose this game or we win this game? Does it change our seeding? Instead of getting the worst place team, am I getting the middle round? Like, what? The fact that they didn't know is embarrassing. And not just on the manager, his coaching staff, the players, team brass, whoever puts this together, it's embarrassing. And I don't want to hear any more of that, how they're representing the sweater. You know what? No, you're not. You're representing yourself. I don't want to hear it. I don't care one way or the other, win, lose. This is not meaningful to me. It's not. It's just not meaningful. And you proved it's not meaningful by the way you acted. In the middle of this tournament, you go out and get hammered so you can't play the next day. You went out and got hammered. You won a meaningless game. Let's call it what it was. It's a meaningless football. It's a meaningless baseball game. It didn't win you anything. Didn't guarantee you anything. It didn't do anything for you. All it did was another game. It's an exhibition game. It's an exhibition game. And I don't care. And you just prove why I shouldn't care. You absolutely prove why I should not give a shit about the World Baseball Classic, because you guys do not give a shit about the World Baseball Classic. I'm watching these guys go out there and throwing 4 innings. Oh, I can't. I can only pitch once in the tournament. I'm the best pitcher in baseball. I can only pitch once. Sissies. That's right. They're all sissies. I don't care. I'm not watching it. I don't care who wins. I really don't. Go for it. Win the gold. Win the club. Whatever it is you win it. I'm happy if USA wins. I'm always happy. But you've proven to me that the World Baseball Classic is absolutely meaningless when you don't know the rules, when you don't care enough to put it out there and put it all on the line for your country. And when you tell me in the middle of this tournament that you took the night off of a game, I don't care if it's meaningless or not. Go out there and represent your country. Win every game. That's the way I feel. So if you want to watch the World Baseball Classic, good for you. I will not watch. I don't care. They can win it all for all I give a shit. It don't matter to me. You proved it. So anyway, lots of football to get to tonight. We'll talk about Jets and Giants free agency. I think both teams have done well. I'm holding off until Jeff gets on to talk about the Jets and their their decision to bring back Geno Smith. I'll run through some other ones. This is not completely up to date, obviously. Tua to the Falcons, kind of mind-boggling to me, but it makes sense. He's kind of, I guess him and Penix are kind of not duplicate quarterbacks, but of the same mold. So it does make some sense. I see Kyler Murray on a one-year deal to the Vikings. The Vikings are the dumbest team in football. I gotta say they're gonna be one of the dumbest teams in football. I mean, you draft JJ McCarthy, which I thought was a stretch, but okay. You got Sam Darnold. He has a great season. You let him leave. He goes and wins the Super Bowl, and you have now resigned yourself to the fact that Kyler Murray will probably be your quarterback this year. That is absolute insanity. Yep. I see it on the screen, Matt. Yep. Still, crazy. Okay, so Jalen Phillips signs with the Panthers, leaving the Eagles. Let's see, Alex Pierce, again, overpaid, a number 2-3 receiver, getting big money. Same thing with Wan'Dale Robinson leaving the Giants and going. I like Wan'Dale. I would like to have had him back, but the money's insane. You couldn't bring him back on that kind of money. Wan'Dale Robinson spends too much time injured. He seemed to find a way to have a great season on his walk year. So, go figure. Let's see. Malik Willis signed with the Dolphins. Quarterback has so turned into the quagmire of football. It wasn't that long ago where we had great quarterbacks all over the place. When you had the Manning brothers and Breeze and Brady, Rodgers, and Favre was still kind of at the end of his career. There was so many. You could get through 10, 11, 12 guys. Now look what we turned to. Malik Willis, who nobody knows at this point whether he's going to be anything more than what he was. And that was the big quarterback free agent signing of the offseason. It's mind-boggling. I love Daniel Jones. I think he's been underrated by most people. I think if he ever stayed healthy, he could put together a really good season. He can win you some games. But who the hell? What in God's country would do? Is the Colts thinking to give him that contract? Where was Daniel Jones? Now, again, it's hard for me to say where is Daniel Jones going when Kyler Murray's signing contracts again. 7 years in the league, going into his 8th year, hasn't done a thing. Is probably one of the worst teammates in football, and he gets a 1-year deal for the Vikings. So it's literally insanity out there in the quarterback world. And I'm telling you, this was a league when Jeff said 8 years ago, quarterbacks were all the rage. They're throwing the ball 50 times a game. And Jeff said, it'll come back around. We're football for circular. Everybody's forgotten about the running back. Now all of a sudden, the running back is back in because why? Because quarterbacks suck. The quarterback in this league suck. Let's call it for what it is. You can okay, Mahomes is great. Okay. Josh Allen's great. We could rattle off 3, 4 guys, 5 guys who are great quarterbacks. After that, let's be honest, it's a quagmire. And we laugh at the Vikings, but let's talk about the Jets. I mean, not only did they bring back Geno Smith, who they ran out of here, and rightfully so, 10 years ago, whatever it was. And he went on to have, I would say, I mean, after he left, he went to the Giants for a few years as a backup. Yeah, he went out to he went to Seattle and had a couple really good seasons. And then he went to the Raiders, and he was, by all accounts, the worst quarterback in football last year. And that's tough to say. But he was, by all accounts. Now, again, the Raiders are a terrible team. The Raiders were tanking. They tried to get him go out on injury. They did this, that. The Raiders are a disaster. And let's hope that at some point, Tom Brady steps in over there and really fixes that franchise. Who really, football's better when the Raiders are good and they're evil, right? But Geno Smith was the worst quarterback in football last year. Just hands down, go look it up. By all accounts, Geno Smith was the worst quarterback in football. So now the Jets have decided. Now, again, who are they picking from? Kyler Murray? I'm hearing Carson Wentz is going to come back and play quarterback for the New York Jets this year as a backup. I mean, Matt, look at that. Look at that room. Look at if you were lucky, if you were the Jets, you'd strap on Frank Reich's gear and tell him to go throw a few. That's close, Matt. But I think because Fields didn't play enough, I think he doesn't get the nod. That's why. But Geno Smith, having played the amount of games he played and thrown in many passes he gets a worse rating. But let's not quabble over it. I mean, if you look at it, the Jets still have Justin Fields. They now have Geno Smith, and soon to have Carson Wentz in their quarterback room. I would tell you that might be the all-time worst quarterback room. That might be. I mean, think about who's running around in that locker room. So anyway, I get it from the Jets standpoint. I've said it. You got to go out there and you got to get a veteran. You don't want to draft a quarterback in this draft if you can help it. Now, they probably will. I could still see the Jets 16, maybe grabbing Ty Simpson, maybe. Maybe if he drops, maybe the Jets try to trade back up from the second round with a couple extra picks and getting him in the first round. I do think the Jets are going to draft a quarterback. And now it might be day 2, day 3, maybe one of the, some other project just to see. I said from the beginning, the Jets should go completely stay away from the draft and bring in a veteran. Problem is, look what you got. Now, I don't know what their options were. I mean, obviously, nobody wanted to see Tua come in here. Nobody wants Kyler Murray. So what are the options? I thought Matt had the best choice was Mac Jones, which not out there. You could have went Kirk Cousins, which I think it was probably the best option, even though I don't think Kirk Cousins got much left. But the Jets didn't have much choice. So now here you go. So now you're the New York Jets. You're still trying to fix the offensive line. You haven't brought back Elijah Vera Tucker, so there's a couple of gaps on the offensive line. You still need a legit number 2 wideout. Let's see who the Jets brought in so far. I want to look that up real quick. Give me 1 second. I want to talk about that. Okay, let's do that, and then let's bring up the AFC. Let's go to the Jets. So the Jets have brought in Geno Smith, acquired in a trade with the Raiders. Let's see, fullback Andrew Beck re-signed. Let's see. Okay. Now the Jets have made some good moves. Minkah Fitzpatrick in a trade, very good move. Dane Belton can play a little bit. Nashawn Wright, Demario Davis. I think he's a little too old, but okay, T'Vondre Sweat, I thought it was a good move for them. Shore up that defensive line. Okay, but in that whole thing, not one wide receiver, and they need the help. So to me, early on, the Jets, okay, they've helped the defense. They still need a corner. They still need some help on as a second wideout. They don't have a second guy in that group. So, I have to say, all right, the Jets, what options did they have? Not sure they had one other than Geno Smith. But here you have a coach, maybe a GM, but certainly you have a coach who has to win this year. He has to win. He cannot go out there and have another losing season. Now, he can lose games and go 6-11 or 7-10 and keep his job. They got to be respectful. They're respectful. They have to be. They can't be the embarrassment they were the last 5 or 6 games of last year. Do they have a second or third? They have 2 or 3 first round. Yeah. So do they have? I think they have 2 this year. I think they have 2 and 16, if I'm not mistaken. I think they have the 16th pick as well this year, and then I think they have 2 next year as well. I'm almost positive. You can check me out on that. Anyway, so the Jets have a lot to do, and they'll still make some moves, and they'll do okay in the draft. They'll get a couple players, but is it going to be enough to save this coach? Again, he doesn't have to win 10 games. He doesn't have to make the playoffs. They just have to go out there and be competitive. And I don't think they can. Right now, I think the defense, does the Mario Davis make them a better defense this year? I'm back. Okay, there we go. I don't know, got a little drop there. Anyway, so I give the Jets, some credit. I mean, you knew they were going to get some backlash. Now, again, these aren't the same people. Okay, so Elijah Vera Tucker signed with the Patriots, so he's not an option. We'll go through all that later. But he's, he wasn't. This isn't the same people who dumped him. This is the same people who drafted him. So, maybe a change of scenery. I think he's done. I don't think you're going to have this remarkable Sam Darnold turnaround year again for Geno Smith. I think he's been done. And, now it's just a question of, can they keep it together enough to keep their coach, the same coach after next year? I'll have to look at that. Okay, Frankie. All right. So the Giants, Patrick Ricard, signed fullback. Wow, I love having a fullback. They re-signed Isaiah Hodgins, Gunnar Olszewski. I love the Isaiah Likely signing by the Giants. Jermaine Illuminor coming back is a good move. Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker from the Bears, 3-year deal. I love that deal. The Giants needed to get better at linebacker. Still doesn't mean they don't take a shot at a linebacker early in the draft. I think it's more likely a receiver. If you look at that wide receiver room, it's very lacking, especially now that Wan'Dale Robinson is gone. And I think all the smoke screen about the Giants taking a running back at 5, I think is basically a smoke screen. They just re-signed what the fuck is his name? Singletary. You got hopefully a healthy Scadaboo, and Tyrone Tracy has proven to be a very adequate back. So I'm not saying they'll draft a running back, but I don't think it's with the number 5 pick. I think it's a game-breaking receiver or a corner. Now I know people don't like to always take corners out early in the draft; they don't always work out. But the Giants do need. They did grab Greg Newsome on a 1-year deal. It's not a make or break. So the Giants have done well. Now, if I'm getting on the Jets, I got to get on the Giants. They brought back one Evan Neal, a number 1 pick. I think a number 7, seventh pick of the draft, I believe, from 4 or 5 years ago. And they tried everything. They tried him at guard. Evan Neal just didn't work out. And I was high on Evan Neal. I wanted them to draft Evan Neal, so I cannot get on the last regime for that. But they brought him back, and they're going to give it a shot. And they have a whole bunch of different guards in camp, and they'll bring some more in. And listen, he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, but that's a strange one. I mean, he flipped off the fans. I'm sure there's a bunch of people still in the building who don't really like Evan Neal. Now, hopefully, he's grown up, and we'll see. So, as baffling as the Jets is, I have to say the Giants are just as baffling. But Evan Neal is not going to make or break the Giants season. He's not going to get John Harbaugh fired. Geno Smith can possibly get the GM and the coach fired. It could happen. It certainly could happen. So let me take a look at Frankie's team. Denver. Okay, quarterback Sam Ellinger re-signed. Adam Prentice re-signed. J.K. Dobbins re-signed. Little Jordan Humphrey re-signed. Adam Troutman re-signed. Alex Singleton re-signed. And Justin Stannard re-signed. So Frankie's correct. Not one outside free agent. They're running it back. And why not? They were probably the best defense and, one of the best teams. And if it wasn't for a freak injury to their quarterback and a bad snowstorm, there's a pretty good chance Denver Broncos play the Super Bowl and probably give you a better show than the New England Patriots did. But there's always weaknesses, and I did not see that they lost anybody yet. I'll have to look it up. I did not see that anybody walked out. I'll have to take a look, and maybe Frankie will give us an update on that. So again, we free agency is they need help. Yeah, everybody needs help, Frankie. Let's see. So do I have any big moves here in free agency? They lost 3. Okay. Let's see. John Franklin Myers to the Titans. Mike Evans to the 49ers. That just proves that there is no loyalty in sports. Now, whether Mike Evans has not had a healthy year in a while. Mike Evans is not Mike Evans from 3-4 years ago. But I will tell you that he'll do well in that offense. Obviously, he's still got a little. He's probably still got a little something in the tank. Let's see, Frankie, you're right. So Franklin Myers was a Bronco. He moved on. Looking. Let's see. I only see one guy on the Broncos who's moved as of yesterday. I didn't look today. So okay. So I thought that's an interesting one. You'd like to see people stay with their teams. Cordell Flott from the Giants. I like Cordell Flott, but he spent more time looking at the back of people's jerseys, chasing them down the field than anything. PJ's locked to Dallas. Okay. Let's see. Quay Walker, Kobe Bryant, Draymond Jones, Kobe Dean, Nehela, Eric Stokes, John Simpson. Reed Blankenship left the Eagles for the Texans. I'm a little surprised by that. They were so in love with that kid. I despise Reed Blankenship. Daniel Bellinger leaving the Giants. It's funny. The Giants fire their coach, and he just stripping guys off that team. He's taking 4 Giants over to the Titans. And I'd like to remind new coach Robert Saleh that they didn't do so well with the Giants. So be very careful about that. Again, Kenneth Gainwell, I think, is a big move for the Steelers losing Kenneth Gainwell. I thought he played really well. I know that they're two-headed back over there, but I thought that was a tough one. Packers got decimated. Yes, Locke is a backup. Let's see. So let's go back a little bit here. Take a look at the winners and losers so far in free agency. Sorry, guys. I was waiting on Jeff. I'm kind of just buying time. I'm trying to not get too deep into things until Jeff gets here, but he's running out of time. I don't think we'll see my dad. He wasn't feeling well tonight. So we'll see if Pop pops up. I doubt he ain't on there now. Let's see. Smart. I'll give you smartest, riskiest signings. Kansas City signs Kenneth Walker. I think that's going to be the next Larry Brown, Tim Smith. Was it Tim? Not Tim Smith. Yeah, Tim Smith signing. Guys have big Super Bowls and they get that big contract afterwards, and you realize they're really not that good. I think Kenneth Walker is a good player. I am thrilled the Giants did not sign him for the $15 million he wanted, and he got 3 years, 45. Kansas City needed him back. Pacheco has not done it. Let's see, somebody touching me. I just think the Kenneth Walker that thing is going to fail. I do. I know that Andy Reid is a genius and Patrick Mahomes is there. I still think that will not turn into this big thing. Malik Willis, 3 years, $67 million to the Dolphins. Dolphins needed somebody to play quarterback. I like Quinn Ewers. I would have gave him a chance, to be honest with you. They're still got a ton of money tied up in the Dolphins. I would not have spent $22 million on Malik Willis after I have to still pay $299 million. You're basically throwing the season away, but you're doing it with a $22 million quarterback. I just don't. I don't know. I don't think it's good. The Buffalo Bills for getting DJ Moore, I thought was a great move. The Raiders signed Tyler Linbaum, 3 years, $81 million for a center. Okay, a lot of money. Rams trade for Trent McDuffie, good move, and they extended him as well. Colts signing Alex Pierce again, 4 years, $114 million for Alex Pierce. He's a heck of a player, and I know, I know that they traded Michael Pittman. But I got to tell you, I just don't see Alex Pierce as the number one receiver. Falcons signed Tua, 1 year veteran minimum. Not terrible. I just, I don't know what to get you. Panthers signing out Jalen Phillips. Bengals signing Brian Cook's a good move, they say. I'll take their word on that one. So lots of stuff. What are you guys thinking? Who's the big winner out there? Like what team did the best in this offseason so far? What are you guys thinking out there? Again, Tom Florio waiting on Jeff Nowinski, just trying to bide my time. I'll talk a little more baseball. We'll get back to football. I'm kind of dragging my feet waiting for Jeff. I don't want to repeat myself 10 times. The Yankees are going to retire CC Sabathia's number. And, I don't know if I talked about this much last week. I don't know. I just, let me hold on for Jeff. I promise I might let him do that one. Gino, how does it affect? Let's see. Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray. We talked about Tua to the Falcons. WBC baseball. Who cares at this point? Hey, I'll give you one. I was reading an article about Jacob deGrom. And they were talking about how when deGrom retires, he's going to be an interesting case for a Hall of Fame. Now, if you go by the metrics, and I'm going to bring up this, I don't think he's even won 100 games yet. Let's bring that up. I'm just trying to buy time, guys. Don't mind me if I'm all over the place right now because I'm trying to give Jeff some time to get us so we can really talk about these things. deGrom. Okay. Baseball reference. So at this point in his career, Jacob deGrom is 37 years old. He has won 96 games and lost 65. So, for years we grew up with the notion of guys having to win a certain amount of games. 300 was a magic number. You win 300 games, you're getting in the Hall of Fame. Right? I don't know if there's any 300 game winners that are not. I'd have to look that up. Somewhere along the course of time, I think there was always a minimum. I don't know what it was. Never saw it. But somewhere along the course of time, that number's dwindled down. Guys like Mike Mussina, Pedro Martinez, guys who didn't win a ton of games, but might have been dominant. I don't think Mussina was ever dominant, but he was a heck of a pitcher. Now, Pedro's an interesting one. I think Pedro won 200 games, and he got in. And Pedro, for me, at his period, was probably top 2, 3, 4 pitcher, 5 pitcher of his generation. I also think David Cone was. David Cone from 92, maybe before, through 96, again, maybe and tail end of his Mets time through Kansas City to the Yankees. David Cone was top 2, 3, 4 pitcher, 5 pitcher in baseball. So, but now we're getting, David Cone probably won 150, 200 games in his career. I have to look that up. But Jacob deGrom will be that test case where if you watched Jacob deGrom pitch, you know how great he was. I mean, his ERAs, 2.69, 2.54, 3.04, 3.53 was a terrible year for him. 1.7, 2.3, 2.38, 1.08. Jacob deGrom I have to say was a great pitcher. 12-8 last year. Nothing in 36 year 36. 2-0, 5-4, 7-2, 4-2, 11-8, 10-9, 15-10. I mean, the most wins he's ever had was 15. I mean, he never, a double digit, like 20, 19-5. The best year he had 15-10 and 14-8. But is Jacob deGrom a Hall of Famer? Boy, how much was Jacob deGrom's career hurt by being a Met? Let's be honest. The Mets couldn't score runs. He was losing games 2-1, 3-2. The guy was virtually unhittable. Now, injuries have robbed him too. We could say that too. But again, isn't staying on the field part of it? Isn't being there every 5 days part of being a great pitcher? Yes. Now, again, you want to wipe away wins and say, okay, his ERA 2.57 for his career, 12 years is pretty good. I would agree with that. And I think that there's a period in there, probably, 2015, 16, 17, 18, maybe 19, where you could say he was, 22 starts, 30 starts, 24 starts, 31, 32, 32, and then it's 12. So let's say from 15 through 19, Jacob deGrom was probably the best pitcher in baseball. Is that enough? Did he win enough games? Did he pitch enough games in his career? I mean, his game started 248. So he's basically started a little over 12 games a year. 1,245. I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. That's wrong. That number's wrong. I have to do better math. That's 20 plus games. So he started 20, 22 games a season for his career on an average. Again, is Jacob deGrom a Hall of Famer based on those numbers? No. If Jacob deGrom stopped pitching today and 20 years somebody looked back at his stats, what would they think? That's a guy you have to have seen pitch. Does he deserve consideration? Jacob deGrom deserves consideration to get in the Hall of Fame. Unless he has some sort of revival over the next 3 or 4 years, I don't think he's done enough to make it to the Hall of Fame. He would need a revival. Now, last year, 12-8, 2.97 ERA, started 30 games. Not bad. You have 2 or 3 more of those from 37 to 40, 41. I think it serves him better. If he doesn't, I think between the injuries, the lack of wins, and everything else, I think he falls short. I believe he falls short. That's and it's not his fault. Not totally. He played on teams that just didn't score runs, that did not win games for him, and that's a shame. But that's the luck of the draw. There's a lot of great pitchers in the Hall of Fame who played for bad teams. I mean, Nolan Ryan's a perfect example. There are a lot of pitchers who are great pitchers who just had the misfortune of playing on bad teams. So I think it's an interesting test case for how we look at players going forward in the Hall of Fame. I think wins matter. I think stats matter. Eye test matters. It's a melting pot, as they call it, of trying to vote somebody into the Hall of Fame. It's not on one thing only. I think it's hard when you're voting on somebody and you never saw them play. That's why I think Hall of Fame should change every so often. It should, and I know you can stay around in baseball and you can watch baseball for 40 years, and I get it. But there does need to be a change. Or I think you have the post, and I don't know how that runs. I don't know if you get it. They change them every couple of years. I don't know how it works, but it should. And I think you should only be able to vote on players you watched play. That's it. I think you have to have watched that player play, whatever sport it is. I just don't think that you can truly look at numbers. And Jacob deGrom will be one of those guys that will be testing it for years. And if he gets in, you'll have half the people screaming that there's a guy going to get in there. I mean, what could we expect him to get? If he won 15 games a year for the next 4 years, and I think that's a lot to ask, and he won 60 more games, he would be 150 wins. Is that a Hall of Fame? In fact, let's see. Let's look up something. How many Hall of Fame pitchers have 150 wins or less? Let's see. Okay, so as of now, Dizzy Dean is the Hall of Fame pitcher with the fewest wins, having 150 wins. Let's see what that list looks like. Okay, so let's bring up the list. Let's see. Can you just do it by wins and losses? Okay, so so 150 is Dizzy Dean, and then we go 145. Now, these aren't Hall of Famers. Even Babe Ruth won 94 games. Mariano, 82. Let's see. Anybody in there? Satchel Paige, 124. Rich the Goose Gossage had 124. So, anyway, I just think that Jacob deGrom will be an interesting case of whether or not somebody with his kind of stats we can overlook. So let's say he averages 12 wins a year, which again, still probably a little much, but let's say he gets another 48. So he'd have 142 wins for his career. Does that get Jacob deGrom? That means him pitching pretty much the next 4 years straight, which I just don't see. It just hasn't happened. Again, the last 6 years is 12. He's had 12 starts, 15 starts, 11 starts, 6 starts, 3 starts, and last year he finally had 30. So I think the law of averages say he's going backwards again this year, and we probably won't see that out of Jacob deGrom. So I don't know what you guys think. You guys have been quiet about it. I'm surprised Frankie and Matt, both Met fans, aren't yelling and screaming at Hard Rocket Sports. I'm Tom Florio, waiting on Jeff Tolwinski. Hope you guys have had a great week. Again, a lot of football stuff to talk about. I just kind of holding off till Jeff pops up. I don't see him popping up yet. We are going to end it early tonight, no matter what. I have some personal stuff going on that I need to attend to, but I was hoping to get Jeff in here. Also want to tell you guys, be on the lookout. StreamYard, which is the platform I use, they now offer, at the end of every show, I go and I click a button and it generates a bunch of AI generated clips. So I did it today for the first time and have generated about 20 of them. And I picked and choose a couple and I posted them. And it's just little snippets of the show, things that we'll talk about. And I can go in there and choose which ones I want to use and post them and kind of draw a little bit of interest. And I put up one today, and it did pretty good. A few people popped up. They wanted to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we'll see how that plays out. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so got some likes and some mentions. Okay, so anyway, so look out for those along the way, and make sure you tune in every Thursday night when Jeff and I get together again. It's the NFL free agency 2026. Let's see. Let's see. Read more. So we Trey Hendrickson signs with the Baltimore Ravens. How bad did Max Crosby get roped in? I mean, he's about to sign with the Ravens. Fails the physical. They go out and sign Trey Hendrickson, who, a good player. Let's see. That's an interesting one there. Murray signing with the Vikings. We talked about that. Tua signed a 1-year deal. Daniel Jones. We got all of that. So let's go on to the next ones. And Jeff, come on. I'm trying to not to talk about too much of this stuff. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see who's still remaining out there. We'll run through some of those guys. Best available: Rasheed Walker, Juwan Jennings, Wyatt Teller, Calais Campbell, age 40. Come on. Joey Bosa still bouncing around out there. Can't seem to stay healthy. Kirk Cousins is still bouncing. DJ Reed, Stephon Diggs. Anybody takes him, they're nuts. Aaron Rodgers. If he's coming back, he's going to be with the Steelers. Kevin Zeitler's a little too old. Deebo Samuel, Hassan Reddick, Dallas Goedert, who I hate, Jawan Taylor, Cameron Jordan, smells like hot dog water. The guy has damaged cartilage in his knee. I actually thought it was a smart move by the Ravens. They keep both first-round picks, and they just pay a very good pay. No, I do. I think Max Crosby's a heck of a player, but you're right. I thought it was a lot to give up to get him. Darren Waller, who's just whatever. David Njoku, Cole Bulldern, Kyle Van Noy, Jimmy Garoppolo, Taylor Decker, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Nobody's Jadeveon Clowney. Let's see. So all the top free agents: Tyler Linderbaum, Kyler Murray. How's Kyler Murray in a rank? The number 4. My God. Alex Pierce is off the board. Devin Lloyd's off the board. Kenneth Walker III, didn't like that signing. Elijah Vera Tucker, good player. Just can't stay healthy. Yeah, I agree. Cameron Jordan, you should want. I think he can still play. So I think that's a good one. Let's see if there's anything else. Come on, Jeff. You gotta get in here, guys. I love the Isaiah Likely signing by the Giants. I think that's gives them. I like Theo Johnson. Too many drops, just too many drops, and the kid needs weapons. I like the running back room. They draft another one. That's fine with me. But I want to wide out, and they got a tight end now. Theo can back him up. And they brought back Manhurts to block. So the Giants have done okay in free agency. Again, losing Wandell hurts, but it is what it is. Travis Etienne, little, got some for tread on the tires for. Let's see, anybody else? Brian Cook. Yeah, again, nothing. Nobody's. You're not nothing major. Still could be some stuff. I'm just going through the list of guys who got signed. Yeah, it was a good signing for them, Frankie. They needed a legit guy to get down the field. And and make some plays, especially the tight end. I mean, too many drops to the tight end spot. I like Bellinger. He made some nice plays last year. But, you know, and they got the other kid from Nebraska as a backup. I like him. So the Giants have a pretty good tight end room. I like the running backs. Need more wideouts. And we got to fill, and we got to find 2 guards. They may cut Runyon, we'll see, and they need the right guard. You know, Andrew Thomas got to stay healthy. I mean, the guy's one of the best tackles in the league. He needs to stay healthy. Yeah, that would have been a good one for you too. Yeah, I think anybody would be happy to get a guy like that. Yeah, and nothing special here. Again, just come on, Jeff. Mario Davis, a linebacker in his late 30s, should make it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Demario Davis, has he got anything left? I mean, that's you know, the Jets have so much need on the defense. I don't know. Marcus Mariota back to the Commanders. Seems to have settled in. Tua. Rico Dowdle signs with the Steelers. Okay. Reed Blankenship. Reed coming off a rocky season. The end called into question of how much playmaking resulted from his ideal surroundings. 3 years, $24 million with 16 guaranteed. I hate those guys. What's the other guy that they got playing secondary for them? Was Reed Blankenship, and then they got that corner. Oh, I hate the 2 of them, boy. Yeah. What do you guys think of the WBC Classic? I don't know if you heard my ranting about them and Team USA and how they blew it. And everybody should be fired. I'm on Jeffy. We're going to stay on for another few more minutes, guys. Like I said, I got some stuff going on, and I can't wait too long for Jeff, and I can't stay on too late tonight. Let's see what else I got. I talked about DeGrom. Let's see. What else is in my thing here? I can't believe A.J. Brown's still an Eagle. Brian Cashman. Let's see. We're talking about Cash. Chino Smith. Oh, boy. Come on, Jeff. March Madness. I haven't watched a minute of college basketball this year. I'm rooting for St. John's for the first time. I'll tell you that much, though. Don't really care about USA manager. Sucks again. Yeah. I just think it's embarrassing, Frankie. You know, all you heard was how this was going to be like the hockey, and it's so wonderful to wear the uniform and have the color and represent the country, and then you don't know that you need to win. Even as a player, how do you not know? And you know, you're a player in the middle of this tournament. You go out and get so tanked up that you can't play the next day. It's embarrassing. I'm sorry. Can move the needle too much for whichever teams they went to. However, I do think that the Rams showing up their biggest weaknesses is it's not the pitchers don't want to pitch. You know, Frankie, I get it to a certain extent, but you know what? Then don't do this. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Do it at the end of the season. You know what? Do it at the end of the season when guys are still pitching and they're used to playing every 5 days. But don't do this and say, "Well, I can only pitch once in this tournament. I'm the best pitcher in baseball. I can only pitch once because I'm not really built up yet." It's a fallacy. I get it. Don't pitch. I get it. You don't want to ruin your season, but then you take I watch the hockey players go out there and bust their ass in the middle of their season just before the run to the playoffs, and they went out there and left it on the ice. I get it's a little different, but then don't do it, because then all you're doing is throwing half-ass baseball out there. You're just doing half-ass. You're not playing the best players. You know, when Skubal and Skeens and those guys are pitching once in a tournament, it don't mean anything. You're not putting the best players out there. I don't care. Then do it at the end of the year. And the teams that make the playoffs, their players aren't eligible. The teams that don't make the playoffs can send their guys out, and they can play baseball. But we're not playing baseball. We're playing. Well, I don't want my guy batting. I don't want him playing every day, and he got no play. Go out there and leave it on the field. And if you get hurt, you get hurt. Yeah, that's the point. If I go all in or don't, because to me, otherwise it's half-ass. Why bother? I can't get behind it because they're not behind it. You're in the middle of this thing, and you tell me that you partied all night, so you guys couldn't play the next day. That's what we're doing. You're worried about getting ready for the season, and instead of winning and realizing first off that that didn't get you an automatic bid. Now you had to pray that Italy won or Mexico won, and they win by 5 or more runs. To me, it's embarrassing. And if you're the general manager of the team, if you're the manager of the team, if you're a coach on that team, if you're any part of USA Baseball, and you didn't know that game against Italy meant something, you should turn in your jersey. Don't even bother showing up. To me, it's embarrassing. And again, the players, the hockey guys are out there. Jack Hughes gets his teeth knocked out. I don't like Sidney Crosby, but the guy, basically took himself out of the playoffs, took himself out of the season for a month to play hockey for 2 weeks for his country, and left it on the ice. And these guys can't go out there and leave it out there. I don't. To me, this is why I've never cared about the World Baseball Classic, and I won't care. I don't. USA plays tomorrow. They quarterfinals. I could care less. If I'm home on a day and a game's on, I'll flip on for a few seconds. Otherwise, I could care. I care less about that. Yeah. So I don't know what else to tell you. I wish I cared. But they don't, so why should I? That's how I feel. Again, Jeff, I expected him on at some point, but it doesn't look like it. And I'm kind of old. I don't know. Anyway, let's see if there's anything else out there to talk about so I can. Yeah, Jack Hughes sends a message to Team USA before game against Canada. Yeah. Grow a pair of nuts, you fucking sissies. That's what he sent out there. Grow a pair of nuts, you sissies. BLABBR. Jack Osborne names his daughter after Ozzy. That's interesting. Jeff Tape's Operation Mindcrime 3 album to arrive in May. Oh boy, he's really just never gonna let that go, right? Like it's always, oh my god. Okay, Adrian Smith says I am made up kind documentary, includes a few things that I've done before. Overkill to renew new album. Dead Daisies, who cares? Boy. Eagles with death metal denies that. Yeah, why isn't Ted Nugent in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That's an interesting one. Is Ted Nugent a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer? Again, there used to be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There used to be a criteria. I don't think it's there anymore on their website. You had to have sold a certain amount of records. I think it was 25 million records. You had to sell a certain amount of records. You had to be active in the business for 25 years. And you had to be who people considered influential, which means basically other bands cite you as a reason why they do what they do. Like if you go back to the early Metallica stuff, they would tell you bands like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, they wouldn't be here without them. And Iron Maiden would go back and tell you without UFO and Deep Purple and Black Sabbath. So to me, that's part of the criteria that they should be using still. Problem is they don't anymore. They just don't. And, when I look at a band, when I look at a guy like Ted Nugent, I'll be honest. I've never. He has a big mouth, and he's so. You know what, Matt? I think that's part of it to a certain degree. I don't think he has a big mouth. I think the guy just speaks his mind. And if you're liberal and you listen to Ted Nugent, he's a big mouth, right? If you're a conservative and you listen to Bruce Springsteen, he's a big mouth. So I think that's easily, to me as a conservative, I like listening to Ted Nugent, and I punched Bruce Springsteen in the face, the most overrated musician of all time. So I think it depends on where you walk in, what street you're walking down, or whether or not he's got a big mouth or whatever. I'd like to just I like certain things. I watch politics every day. I listen to Fox every day. I catch a little CNN. I'm completely enthralled, and I just love the ins and outs of all of that. But when it comes to like sports and music, I like to keep the politics out of it for the most part. I hate Bruce Springsteen not just because he's a liberal scumbag, but because he sucks. I always thought he sucked. He ruined We Are the World. Let's be honest. If you want to call it what it is, Bruce Springsteen ruined We Are the World. You get to listen to like Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and Cyndi Lauper and Huey Lewis, one of the most underrated singers of all time. Billy Joel and all these great, and also We Are the World. Like, who thought like that was a good thing? Like, let's have all these great singers and then stick Bruce Springsteen in there. Like, who thought like that was a good thing? Like, was Quincy Jones doing lines? Was he shooting? Like, was he mainlining at that point? Like, who thought in the middle of the night, we got a whole bunch of really good singers. Let's stick somebody in the middle there who sucks, who really can't sing, and we'll have him sing the worst way possible. Let's just ruin this song. I want to know who that person was, because the person who said, you know what, in the midst of all these really great singers, and you look at it, even to people like Kenny Rogers and Cyndi Lauper, I mentioned that, there's so many, Jeffrey Osborne, some people with just great voice. Steve Perry, I'm not a huge Steve Perry fan as a person, but Steve Perry is a great singer. In the middle of all of that great singing, you stick in Bruce Springsteen. Okay, so Bruce Springsteen, I care less about, and it ain't not because of his politics. I just think he sucks. But Ted Nugent's an interesting case for me, because Ted's been around forever. He sold a bunch of albums. Let's look up what Ted Nugent sold. I'm curious now. Ted Nugent. Let's see. Ted Nugent. Let's do Ted Nugent. Theodore Anthony Nugent. Asbury Dukes, Early Life. Let's see if they give you album sales. Boy, wow, he's had so many different people in this band. Holy cow. Discography, tons of albums. They do not give the amount of records he sold. Do not see that anywhere. Anyway, I've never been a huge Ted fan. I mean, Stranglehold's is a good song, and Cat Scratch Fever everybody knows, and Wham Bam and all that stuff. He's had some stuff in there, and you're right. He's probably not in the rock. I think one song is Born. Like one of his Born to Run. That's it. Yeah, Frankie. Yeah, there's so many. So Matt, I get it. Yeah, everybody likes one song. There's one Bruce Springsteen that I like. It's was it 11th Avenue Freeze Stop or 11th Avenue Freeze something. I like that song. I think it's a fun song. I can listen to that when it pops up on something. But the guy sucks. Let's be honest. He might be a good songwriter. Some people write great stuff. I don't know if he writes his own music. I have no idea. I don't listen to his music. I don't watch it. But when you stick in Bruce Springsteen into one of the most beautiful, well-meaning songs of all time, and he sings the way he sings, every time I see it, I want to punch him square in the face and break his jaw. I swear to God, I'm not a violent person, but I want to punch him in the face and break his jaw, because he sucks. He sucks out loud. He sucks if he whispers, And I think, but Ted Nugent, you know, probably see what. Here's the thing. Now, all right, we're talking Rock or Hall of Fame again. I don't know why, but we are. What is the criteria we're going to use for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? What is that actual criteria? What makes a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer? Now, they used to have something, but I think if you go to their website, it's no longer there. So now, when you think of a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, what gets them there? Is it longevity? Is it you got to sell a certain amount of albums? What is the criteria somebody used? Do you say, "Oh, well, that guy's been around forever. He's played with everybody." He's what makes a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer? That's the question. Whether you're picking NWA, whether you're picking Shakira, Mariah Carey, whoever it is, when you're picking a Hall of Famer in music, we've talked about sports. You can use certain milestones in sports, 500 homers, 300 wins, 600 goals, 30,000 points in basketball. There's a lot of stuff. I'm not a violent person, man. I'm not anymore, at least, maybe. But I'm not a violent person. But there's certain people I want to punch in the face, and he's one. But yeah, so I mean, but when it comes to music, what is the definition? What is the criteria that we use when we're saying somebody's a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, right? I don't know. So when you say, well, Ted Nugent is or isn't, what's the argument? Like, how do I say now? Ted Nugent in the 70s was huge. He was absolutely huge. In the 80s, maybe not so much. A little bit of damn Yankees running around. Lots of solo stuff after that. Still out there doing his thing. Done TV and acting. He's a big. Ted Nugent is a big fan of Detroit Red Wings, the Pistons, the Lions, and the Tigers. The auction included a lot of his guitars. Let's see. Wow. Animal rights. He's a big animal rights guy, big guns guy, big environmentalist, foreign policy. Yeah. So again, when I'm going through Ted Nugent, I'd love to have more stats on how many albums he sold. Lots of albums. He's definitely been around long enough. I've never heard anybody say, I started doing this because I listened to Ted Nugent. Now, that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Let's see. How many albums has Ted Nugent sold? But I will say this. He's a very underrated guitar player. He sold 12,950,000 albums. Cat Scratch Fever sold 3.1 by itself. So has Ted Nugent done enough, in my opinion, to be a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer? Probably not. Let's say this. Based on the old days, when you're measuring him up against Zeppelin and Sabbath and Elvis and the Beatles and some of those people who got in before him, I would say the answer is no. Ted Nugent has not reached that level. But if you're comparing him to some of the people who've gotten in the last decade, 2 decades, I don't know if he is or isn't. If I was voting and Ted Nugent was in this year's crop, so would I vote for Ted in this year's crop? No. Phil Collins, Maiden. I might vote for Pink. I think she's had a pretty good career. There's a few people that I would vote for. But Ted, I don't know. But in a different year, when maybe there wasn't as many people, I would say there's a chance I would vote for Ted. If he got in, I'd be happy. If he doesn't get in, I don't think it'll affect me one way or the other. He's not that guy. He's not Kiss. He's not some of these guys who've waited forever to get in. Guys like Bon Jovi. Again, I'm not the biggest John Bon Jovi fan. But to me, the fact that John Bon Jovi had to wait so many years, I mean, if there's anybody who's sold a ton of albums, influential, had every category of what you would want from a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but John Bon Jovi should have been in 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, the whole hair metal craze came off their backs. hit single after hit single after hit single, major albums. So I'm never been a big fan of how these Hall of Fames do their thing. So I have a huge issue with all of them, for the record. So it doesn't matter. Let's see, anything else in here? Extreme. Extreme's one of those weird bands, man. Very talented band. Very talented band. A couple songs that I like. Screw David Mustaine. Love the triumph out there. Mike Levine is extremely up to his chances of taking part in it. I'd love to see. I have to see them guys try and play this summer. Let's see. Come on, Jeff. You're running out of time. I'm about to call it a night. Satriani. Joe Satriani flex on being asked to play with Alex Van Halen and David Lee Roth. Kept saying, "I'm not the guy." Call Nuno. I don't think Bon Jovi biopic in development. Okay, so why? I think that's interesting. And if you grew up in New Jersey, it might be interesting to see a biopic on John Bon Jovi. It's kind of, I don't know if you guys have watched Gravesend. There's a series, I think it's on Netflix, and it's set back in like the 70s, 80s in Gravesend, Brooklyn, and it's the worst acting. I'm sorry, anybody and there's big names. There's Amanda Sante and Chaz Palminteri. Half the Sopranos are in there. It's Dice Clay. There's some big shot names in there, but it is the worst acting you could ever watch. But I watch it every season. They're coming up on season 3, and the reason I watch it is because all of a sudden you'll see places in Staten Island or Brooklyn, and they pop into Miami and other places that you recognize. You go, oh, I know where that is, and I watch it for that reason. So I would do the same with a Bon Jovi biopic. I would go, oh my God, I hung out with Matt in that place. I've been over there. I know where that is in Sayreville or Metuchen or one of these places. But if you live outside of New York, does anybody, or New Jersey, I should say, does anybody really care about a Bon Jovi biopic? That's an interesting one for me. I think they're supposed to be doing one on Kiss. I think that one's interesting because of who they were and how huge they were. As big as Bon Jovi was, and there's no doubt Bon Jovi in New Jersey, in the rock community of the 80s, Bon Jovi's big, don't get me wrong. But Kiss was worldwide, nationally wide. It's different. They deserve it. Sabbath should have that biopic. Queen had one. I think that was well done and well deserving. TNT and Stryper. What do you think about TNT and Stryper in the Hall of Fame? No, absolutely not. No, I love Stryper, and I'm not opposed. No, Stryper. One of my favorite bands that I don't listen to often. It's still popping out good stuff. Yeah, I mean, Michael Sweet's underrated. Hall of Fame, no. You're here on Facebook. Jeffy, I'm not going to be staying much longer. I got some stuff going on in the house, and so I guess you can't sign on. So let me see. Hold on. Okay, try it. See what you can do. But I can't stay much longer. So maybe you want to just. That's up to you. Yeah, I'll hang with it. But so let's see. I got you. So yeah, so Matt, yeah, no, TNT, absolutely no. Stryper, no. Again, there's got to be something there. Again, if they got in, I wouldn't argue. I don't think they'll have a shot at it. I don't think there's many of the metal bands. I think Poison at some point will get on the list. They won't get in. I don't think you'll see many of the metal bands anymore getting in, and I'm talking about hair metal or other. Like, you're not going to see Pantera get in. I think it'll be a miracle if Maiden gets in. Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah, I don't see it from those bands. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other bands from the genre we love that I would say, boy, they deserve it. I mean, Scorpions, great band. Don't get me wrong. Been around forever. Sold a lot of albums. Are they going to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? No. They're not. Trying to think if there's anybody else. I mean, again, if Maiden's not getting in, is Megadeth getting in? No, they're not going to get in. So yeah, I don't think. Again, could a Poison sneak into the list? Yeah. Could they get in? I don't see it. Had a bunch of hits. Another influential band, Motley Crue. People I've heard a lot of uprising from Motley Crue to get in. I mean, to me, one of the worst live bands of all time. I don't care what you've ever seen from Motley Crue. Nobody's telling me that they went to a Motley Crue concert and came out and said, these guys are great. Okay, so yeah, maybe Jeff. I'm not discounting it that they might someday sneak in. I just don't think it's a priority for anybody. So, but after Maiden, who else is deserving to get in that has a chance? I don't know. I have to do some thinking about that one. I don't think there are too many bands out there that haven't gotten in that are good. Could have, is Satriani in there? I don't think so. Could Satriani get in there? It's possible. I don't know if Sammy Hagar solo is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's probably somebody. Let me ask the question: is Sammy Hagar solo in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Let's see. So he was inducted as a member of Van Halen, but he's not in there as a solo artist. He says he really didn't do much outside of Van Halen except I Can't Drive 55. Boy, oh boy, that's interesting. Okay. See, I think Sammy as a performer probably deserves to get in there, but that's an interesting one. Ted Nugent, again, I don't think Ted gets there, so I'm curious. Yeah. You know what, Matt? Because as big as we think, or I think Scorpions are, if Maiden can't get in, and there's a band that blew the roof off of metal in the 80s and 90s, still out there playing big shows, sold probably close to 100 million records. They've done it all, and they can't get a smell at this point. I can't see how the Scorpions do. Scorpions were kind of a second level. I had a couple big hits. Don't get me wrong. No One Like You and Haraki Like a Hurricane were huge hits. Winds of Change was another huge hit. I can't imagine those guys having a shot to get in. I wouldn't mind it. I love the Scorps. Love Drive is one of my favorite albums. I love what's the album? Not the one with No One Like You on it with the eyes, and oh my god, I am drawing a blank. Holy cow. But I like a bunch of their stuff. I think the early Scorpions is great stuff. But yeah, I don't see them getting in. So I don't know what bands out there would be. Let's see. I think Jeff just got up here. Hold on a second. You there? There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. I had to get my iPad and sign on. My laptop is being antiquated.
Oh, okay.
Not good, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Nice to see you, Hefe.
What's going on?
How was much, Ben? How was dinner with your wife?
Oh, good. It was me, her son, and his girlfriend, and we went out for her birthday dinner and stuff like that. So
very nice.
That's what she likes.
Good. That's what she deserves. She does the right thing for everybody. That's what she does. Jeff, I can't stay on too much longer. Got some stuff going on. So, but I was hoping you would pop up. But Jeff, how was your week?
Good. Oh, well, actually, it wasn't good.
Oh, really? Why?
And I'll tell you why. Because the Jets did not get the quarterback I was hoping to get.
Well, let me ask you the question. So,
go right ahead.
Who of all the guys that were out there, and the names are underwhelming. Carson Wentz and Kirk Cousins, and I'll put Tua's name in that list, and Malik Willis. Kyler Murray, of all the names, and that's just the upper level guys, who would you want besides Geno Smith?
I was hoping to see if they would have gotten Kyler Murray.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because
please.
I think that he has somewhat of an upside left. He's still young, okay, and he's a mobile quarterback. He could run, so there's still a chance that he could move with his feet. But I mean, there's not much there. But you got to understand something. Whatever they did is all geared towards next year anyway. And I think that they would have been better off if they were a little bit more patient, because there's still quarterbacks floating around. If they didn't trade for Geno Smith and take on all his salary, that would have been nice to wait and see if they cut him. But you want to know something? When was the last time they got a quarterback in the 6th round? So you basically traded a 6th round pick for a 7th rounder and Geno Smith. So, listen, somebody has to be the quarterback. And,
I agree. I agree with you.
It's not an ideal situation, but there's plenty worse.
No, I agree. But, like I told Matt and Frankie early on in the show, you're not talking about Geno Smith from 2023, 2024. Even 24 wasn't great. You're talking about Geno Smith, who by all rankings was the worst quarterback in football this year. Now, I know Matt brought up, Justin Fields, but Justin Fields didn't play enough to get that ranking. Geno Smith is widely considered the worst quarterback who played enough to get to that point. Last year, he was horrendous. Now, he played for a horrendous team. They were tanking. We'll take it all into consideration here. But Geno Smith's not coming off his finest moments of last year now.
No, definitely without a doubt. But you want to know something? You're not looking for the next savior of the franchise. You're not looking for the next quarterback for the next 3 to 5 seasons. You're looking for a quarterback for the next 17 games, pretty much. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a different veteran here next year on the Jets.
But here's the thing, though, Jeff.
With a rookie quarterback next year at this time.
We're going to bring that right up next. But if you're Aaron Glenn, can you survive another year where maybe you're only winning 3, 4, or 5 games and you look pathetic like they did the end of last year? Can he survive that? I get your point. You're almost telling us you're not going to win this year by bringing in Geno Smith. Like you're saying, hey, this is almost another lost year. And we're looking to 27, where there's a great crop of free quarterbacks out there coming in the draft. But can your coach and his staff survive that year?
Woody Johnson is the owner, most definitely.
Okay.
I'm sorry, man. I know it sounds stupid.
And it makes sense. Then this move makes sense. If he knows that he's got another lost year ahead of him and it's okay if he gets there, then you're right. But if you're going to bring Geno in expecting to win and you don't, and then fire everybody,
you're not going to win. You're not going to win many more games than you did last year, if any more games than you did last year. The only thing I can tell you that I do feel is that they will be a little bit more competitive. I think that Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Justin Fields. Okay.
It's hard to argue.
Not by a stretch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're comparing, Aaron Rodgers to Gardner Minshew here. You're talking about 2 quarterbacks that are within the same neighborhood, so to speak. Yep. But one is 15, one is 35. You know what I mean?
Yep.
On the list.
I'm with you. But to Matt's point, now if you're the Jets, are you? And again, to me, a first round drafting of Ty Simpson is a bit of a stretch. This is a kid who probably needs to sit around for a few years before he plays. I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's physically ready to play in the NFL. Maybe Matt will disagree with me, but I think he's a ways off. If you got him later, might be better. I'd rather see the Jets use their 2 number 1 picks on guys who are going to contribute immediately.
They did. First of all, I don't know all the ins and outs on all of these different guys that they got for defense. They've been going like strictly defense, except I think for 1 or 2 offensive linemen. Yep. They still didn't address, well, other than the quarterback, yes, of course, but they didn't address a second wide receiver as of yet.
Nope.
It would be interesting to see what happens in the draft. I don't know how much better they're going to be defensively, but I know that they definitely added to the team defensively. So if the defense keeps them competitive, and the offense could go out there and not look stupid, I think that it would be a feather in Aaron Glenn's cap.
It would
You
be.
know,
I would agree.
I think at this point in time, we've used this. Maybe we throw this around too much here, but if they're competitive, what does that mean? Like if you're saying that they're in games to the fourth quarter, and maybe they're out of the playoffs by October, but they're only losing 21-17, 24-21, or they were winning with 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter and they fumbled the ball or whatever, something stupid, and they ended up losing the game. That may get them and that coaching staff in another
Yes,
year. I don't
I
know.
agree.
Just don't forget three number ones, man. And who knows what they're gonna do, who they may get rid of next year to get more.
No,
You don't know.
no. I listen. I agree with the quarterback. Yeah, I think they've done a nice job with this free agent. They had a ton of money to spend. They've got a lot of draft picks. They have an ability here to restart the clock. The problem is, I think to your point, they do need another wide receiver.
Definitely.
They need to fix the offensive line, but they didn't sign Elijah Vera Tucker, who a lot of people thought might have been their best offensive lineman, although never healthy fully.
I think he played one full year without getting hurt.
Now the tackles should be great this year. They should be even better than they were last year. They did a decent job, both rookies.
They need guards. They got Tippmann in the middle.
Yep, they need two guards at this point. So
I know they got one, but they got the one of the guards from Vegas.
yes, they did. They just signed. I think they. I'm not keen on Demario Davis. I think he's a little old at this point, but they have done a lot. They've done. I like Minkah Fitzpatrick. The trade to get Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think, is a great move. Dane Belton's not a bad safety coming over for the Giants. I think they've done some stuff for defense. The Jets are interesting. We're going to break the draft down. I would not mind seeing the Jets draft Ty Simpson. If you do, and again, you got to keep him off the field a little bit. He's not quite there. But I think if you run the risk of having to play him. I want to run through a couple of.
You got to see where you get him too. If they even go after him, you have to see what happens.
100%. Okay, I want to bounce around a couple things before we call it a night. Giants do the same thing and bring back one of their draft busts, and Evan Neal is now back with the New York Giants.
Did they get rid of him last year?
They did bring him back. Yep, they got him. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I think it was last year. New regime, they decided to bring him back, give him another shot. They're going to try him at guard. They are guard light at this point. They've got their tackle situation resolved. I'm pretty sure John Michael Schmitz will be the center. They need guards as well. Interesting move by the Giants. New regime. Maybe they feel like they have the parts and pieces to fix him.
Listen, there's only one way to find out. Did they get him on the cheap at least?
I believe so. Yep. I don't think they spent much money on him.
As long as they didn't tie him up with like a fucking 5-year deal with $50 million a year, if it's a relatively cheap deal and they got him for a year or two, what's the harm? I mean, listen, even Mekhi Becton turned it around for a year someplace and won a Super Bowl.
Becton got himself a Super Bowl, so you're right. Jeff, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations are out. You got to pick 7 artists from this group I'm about to give you. Ready? Okay, Jeff. You could say yes or you could say yes, no to either any of these guys. At the end of this, you have to pick 7 people to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You ready?
All right, I'll give you as we go on. So
yep, in excess.
I know who most of them are, but go ahead.
In excess.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Wu-Tang Clan.
No.
Iron Maiden.
Yes.
Mariah Carey.
She's not rock and roll, but I got to say yes.
Okay. Billy Idol.
Nah, I'm going to hold on him for right now.
Okay, I'll put a question mark. Black Crowes.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Lauryn Hill.
No.
I agree with you on that one. Joy Division New Order. They're a new wave band from the 80s.
No, no, I'll
Uh,
pass on them. I don't know
New,
anything about them, so I
yeah,
gotta pass.
New Edition,
No.
Oasis.
Oasis?
Yes.
No. I think they've been apart longer than they were
Yeah,
together.
I agree.
I'll
They
pass on that.
they probably get into the hate each other Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there you
Uh,
go.
Pink.
No,
Okay. Sade.
no.
Shakira.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna hold on that one
Okay, I'll put a question mark.
because
Phil Collins.
I may need to put somebody in there.
Understood. Phil Collins.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that's a no-brainer. Luther Vandross.
No, but only because he's not rock and roll.
Okay. Not that
Although if it was once again,
yes.
if it was the Music Hall of Fame, I'd say yes. But it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I gotta say no.
Okay. Jeff Buckley. I don't know who Jeff Buckley is, but Jeff Buckley's up.
No. No, I
And
think I know who he is, but no.
all right, and last but not least, Melissa Etheridge.
Hmm. How many did I get in? How many do I have going in?
So 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 5 in. You need 2 more people. So you
And
have
I got
question
3.
mark.
I got Shakira, Mariah Carey, and Melissa Etheridge.
No, you put Mariah Carey in. So you
I
have
did put her.
yes, you have
Oh,
Billy Idol and
Billy Idol, Shakira, and
Shakira.
Melissa
Right.
Etheridge.
So out of those 3, you need to have 2 of them. You'll pick to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna go with Melissa Etheridge.
Okay, so there's your 6th. You have
And
one more.
I'm gonna put Billy Idol in.
Okay. All right.
And the reason I did not pick Shakira
Go ahead.
is because she crosses a couple different genres with Spanish music and English music, and I don't think she's definitely not in it as long as Billy Idol and Melissa Etheridge. So I gotta give them to. I think Melissa Etheridge is the better sold, more successful artist, I should say, as well as Billy Idol than Shakira.
Yeah, I again this year I think the crop of people that were voted to this point have been better than in years past. I mean, obviously, I think Maiden deserves to be in there. Who'd win in a fight, the Black Crowes brothers or the Oasis brothers? Billy, are they fighting each other?
Who asked that?
Are they Billy Graz? Are they fighting each other or are they fighting brothers from the other side? Like is Chris Robinson fighting one of the Oasis brothers, or is he fighting his own brother? I mean, that's the question.
That I think that's more of a WWF pay-per-view, man.
Well, I think that's one of those things. They start out fighting each other, and then halfway through the match, they switch teams.
Yeah,
you know?
God only knows what's going to happen, man. That's definitely a gray area there.
Yeah. Again, I think this group of bands. I would disagree a little bit on Black Crowes, but if I had to pick a 7, they would probably get there. Phil Collins, to me, Phil Collins, Maiden, Mariah Carey are probably no doubters. I mean, I'm not, again.
Mariah Carey, just because she holds a couple records, like she has like one of the most #1 hits for an artist in their first couple years. And she sold a lot of records and has been around since a long time, since I think
100%.
the late 80s.
Absolutely.
But some of the ones that I said, like Pink.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And Wu-Tang, I'm sorry, they're just not for me.
No, I listen. I'm with you on most of it. Again, I'm not a big NXS fan. I mean, I know a lot of people are, but it's interesting. But yeah, this group was better than I've seen the last few years. I meant to kind of compare the last 4 or 5 years. I didn't get a chance to. I will for next week.
You know what? Once I know we've said this, we each said this a million times. Fix this problem 1, 2, 3, and we'll have nothing else to talk about.
Yep.
Call it the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And instead of voting them in, just put them in. Just put them in. You got to be active for a minimum of X amount of years. Never mind what you sold and all this other shit, because some of these bands
that's
don't meet all the criteria.
Well, that's what I brought up a couple of minutes ago. We were talking about people who aren't in, and Ted Nugent's name came up. And I said, my personal opinion would be that Ted Nugent's not a Rock Hall of Fame. But here's my question. What's the criteria that you use for you as a human being and a musician and a music lover? When somebody says to you, regardless of whether it's Mariah Carey, INXS, Iron Maiden, When somebody says to you, "Are they a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer?" In your head, what's the first couple of criteria you're thinking of?
Longevity,
Okay, that's a good one.
sales.
That's a big one.
Okay. Number one hits.
Okay,
Okay, which to me is different than sales because you
sure,
can have one number one hit and sell 500 million albums, and
correct.
you
You
know
have
you know the deal.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
You would have to.
longevity, hits, number ones, maybe gross, like money grossed over the years, but
Okay,
then
yep.
again, that is unfair to some bands because some of these bands might have not made the money that some of these others did. With like Maiden has definitely made more money than Billy Idol.
But again, yeah, and again, now in today's world, nobody's making money on record sales, so it'd be hard to put the last 10 or 15 years worth of that together because nobody's selling records.
You're,
Maybe
you're right,
concert
but there's
sales,
still somebody that's making money
absolutely, sure,
regardless,
yeah.
and you got to include tours, merchandise. Don't forget
Spotify,
these bands now, they're
mhm,
not bands anymore, dude. They're businesses. It's
mhm,
a business. You
yep,
know what I mean? That's what it's all about. They're probably all incorporated and everything else. Who knows? But they run as a business, and even that's what gets me and what I find sad with like a band like Sabbath and even Maiden. How many of them lost the band, so to speak, and now a corporation? Like when Iommi and Geezer Butler decided to go out with Ronnie James Dio and Vinny Appice, they couldn't go out as Black Sabbath, even though Tony Iommi was in Black Sabbath longer than anybody.
sure,
It had to be Heaven and Hell. They couldn't tour under the name Black Sabbath.
yeah,
Meanwhile, they released albums under the name Black Sabbath. They
yeah,
couldn't tour under that name. Wasn't right. So it's all business now, man. It's
yep.
all fucking business.
No, no, I would agree with you 100%. Like I said, I in sports, like I said, there are magic numbers. There are criteria you reach, and you have to play a certain amount of years. You got to hit a certain amount of homers. You got to do a certain amount of things. And I started the whole thing off tonight with Jacob DeGrom, who's won 96 games. He's 37 years old, and is Jacob DeGrom a Hall of Famer? It was a big article in the Post last Sunday, and I think it's an interesting one that at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, Jacob DeGrom will be up for the Baseball Hall of Fame, having probably won 110 games. And I looked it up, and the pitcher with the least amount of wins in the Baseball Hall of Fame is Hoyt Wilhelm, who won 150 games.
Yeah,
So
but Hoyt Wilhelm was also a reliever, right?
yeah, I think he actually was, but that's the least amount of wins. I mean, Rich Gossage has, as a reliever, has 150 wins. But Jacob DeGrom won't get to 100. He'd have to win 15 games a year for the next 4 years to get to 150 something, and he just ain't gonna happen.
He had trouble breaking 10.
Yeah, so he last year he won 12 games. He pitched 30 for the first time in 5 or 6 years. So the likelihood is not. So my point was, at what point, what is the criteria we're putting Jacob DeGrom into the Hall of Fame with, or not putting him into the Hall of Fame with? And then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, okay, is Ted Nugent, who sold 12 million albums in his life, who was a big star or had big album sales in the 70s. He sold 3 million with Cat Scratch Fever. What keeps Ted Nugent from getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? What is the criteria?
I know exactly what keeps Ted Nugent from getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Go ahead.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is run by Rolling Stone magazine, right? And the writers of Rolling Stone magazine, very liberal publication, versus Ted Nugent, who's been running his mouth for years, hardcore gun nut and NRA member and all this other shit.
Mhm.
So you tell me why he ain't getting in.
I got you. And again, like I told Matt,
And he could sell 10 trillion records. They're gonna find a reason not to put him in the fucking Hall of Fame.
100%. There's no doubt Ted Nugent will never smell the light of day in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
But not while he's alive.
Correct. And I'm not sure even while he's dead, but yeah, it just, like I said, there needs to be clear-cut ways to decide whether somebody versus somebody else. Because right now it's just, especially the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Music Hall of Fame, however we want to rename it, is basically a popularity contest. And it's based on, the people who are voting, who definitely lean, I would think, liberal for the most part. having known, like I'm listening to the Howard Stern show. I happened to go past it and they were talking about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I stopped to listen for a minute. I don't listen anymore. And he was voting and he was just basically going by, oh, I've never heard of Iron Maiden. I'm not voting for them. I don't know anything by this club, this band. I'm not, what's the criteria that you are voting with? So that, to me, that's why it's just an honorarium anyway. You said it right. Just put everybody in. Just every year, just pick 7 people, put them in. It doesn't really matter.
I'm going to give you a certain body, certain person that I don't know if you might have heard of, and now you've definitely heard of them. I don't know if they're in the Hall of Fame, but I'm going to give you some numbers, and then just by their numbers, I want you to tell me if you think that this person should be in the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
Okay. Recorded figures show 70 million record sales during a career that spanned more than 7 decades. He's had more than 100 albums and recorded around 500 songs. These consisted of country music, contemporary gospel, Broadway show tunes, love songs, and standards. Now, when I tell you the name, you'll know who he is. But do you feel as though, I'm just looking to see if it says anything else, do you feel as though, based on those numbers that I just read you, also died when he was 90 years old, okay, is that somebody that you think should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, maybe not. In Music Hall of Fame, probably yes.
Right, that is Slim Whitman.
Okay.
Now, you've heard of him, right?
Sure, I've heard of Slim Whitman, sure.
Yeah, but so have I. I don't know if, wait a minute, Slim Whitman, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Slim Whitman is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. His legacy is rooted in country, having been inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame's Walkway of Stars in 1968. Despite selling over 70 to 120 million records, he is noticeably absent from the top-tier Country Music Hall of Fame. Now, I don't find him to be an influence of many, personally, that is, but I just somebody that I was like, yeah, I got to bring that one up.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, again, I don't know if there is a criteria for it. There needs to be a standard of you have to sell a certain amount of records. You have to sell. There used to be, when I went on there first time back in the day, there was a criteria of you have to sell a certain amount of records. I think it was 25 million records. You had to be around for 25 years, and you had to be what people would consider influential. You had to bands had to say, I got into rock and roll or I got into music because of this artist. And, and then one year it disappeared. And they basically said, we're going to throw that out because half the bands are putting in. Nobody's been influenced by them. Nobody's telling me that they came up playing music because the Cars, played My Best Friend's Girl or Just What I Needed. Nobody. I never heard a band ever say it. No.
No, but you know what? The Cars were a punk new wave type band in the early 80s.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Nobody that we listened to, and they certainly didn't inspire us, but you want to know, they did inspire a friend of ours.
Yes.
And I could guarantee you that Paul would say that they had an influence on his career.
Paul and I have had the conversation. He disagrees with me, and I get it. So again, I just think.
But don't forget, I do say that they probably sold a ton of records.
Oh, probably, yeah, probably. I'd have to look up, but I'm just saying there needs to be a criteria. There isn't one, and there's not going to be. And
I agree.
That's just it. But guys, I got to wrap it up here. Unfortunately, thank God Jeff got on. We got to talk a little bit and made the show flow a little better. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, both of us will get our schedules worked out. And we'll be back to a regular beat from this point on.
No birthdays next week.
We'll break down the entire.
I got no birthdays.
We'll break down the entire free agency for the NFL. We'll start talking about the draft because now you'll be able to start to kind of pinpoint what teams needs are still on. We'll do a lot more football. We'll get into some baseball, more Hall of Fame stuff for you, and I'm sure a ton of other stuff. Also, pay attention now. We have the ability to generate clips. AI. I don't know if you noticed them today, Jeff. I saw them. Yeah, that's a feature. Cool. Yeah, so if you keep the show under 2 hours, I can, after the show's over, I hit a button and it generates clips. They had probably 20 or 25 different clips, and I can go through them and say that makes sense, and I can download them and put them online. And it's just a way to start conversations and get people involved with the show. So be on the lookout for those. Again, Hard Rocket Sports Band will be out and about at some point in May. we'll let you know the date. Hopefully, you guys will all come out and support the final show for this band's. The name Hot Rocket Sports Band will never appear again. I'm not saying the people on stage may not, who knows, but I don't think we'll. This will be the last the time we tried out the Hot Rocket Sports Band that I'm aware of, unless we're like everybody else, we come out of retirement, Jeff. Who knows? Hey, you never know. But anyway, had a good practice last week. It was nice to see everybody. Unfortunately, Jeff couldn't make it. He had a big show to play. And hopefully we'll see Jeff on the 22nd. I know you noticed I booked those 3 dates.
I will be there.
Good. We're looking forward to it. But
I'll bring in a list of songs with me too.
Okay, good. Very good. We'll get some more songs down, and we'll add some more in. We can get a few other practices, and those are just 3 dates that I knew that certain people could make. I wanted to make sure we got those, and then if we stick a few others in there along the way, we could do that as well. But in the meantime, Jeff, you got to end it right here. Again, wish your wife a very happy birthday from me, and my best to everybody over there. And I will talk to you off the air when we do this all over again next week. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend, and a great next week. Going to be some snow coming at you folks. Unfortunately, stay warm, dress properly in layers. And Jeff and I will see you back here next Thursday night when we do this all over again. Hefe, I will talk to you off the air.
You got it, man.
All right, man. Good night, everybody.
Later. Bye.
Oh, how'd that go?